Welcome to Detailer's Roadmap Cruise Control, helping you navigate the roadways of life, business, and everything in between.
Hey guys, it's Kevin Davis from the Cruise Control Podcast. This is episode number 18. I'm here with Rob Schruefer, which is a bit of a, I'm sure it gets mispronounced all the time. Rob owns On the Spot Mobile Detailing out in, it's Maryland, Baltimore area?
Yeah, just outside Baltimore.
Just outside Baltimore. So we've known each other for quite a while. We're kind of more of the old guard, I think, when it comes to this kind of stuff. You get all these young as we say.
Yeah.
That's right. You still look pretty young, so we're good. Hey man, thanks for coming. I appreciate this. I know you've got some stuff to share that will be kind of unique and interesting beyond what you have a unique business model. You've been around for a long time. You work in an area that's kind of less desirable in terms of like mobile, what people would normally think of mobile detailing success. Want to talk about that. So what I've been asking everybody that comes on is give me your what I'm calling the detailing superhero backstory. So this has become like the intro part of this podcast. So kind of give us your background, what you do now. You've got a huge different background. So take your time. We got plenty of time.
Yeah. So I started the business in 2004. I was just kind of looking for something to do. I knew I was going to have to be my own boss. I kind of had that track record with management that I thought being my own boss would be the best way to go. So, I really didn't know anything about detailing. I was just looking for something that I thought I could do. And I always mowed lawns and, just made odds and ends, that kind of way, just on my own doing things. And I just decided car detailing, I'd give it a shot. So I learned a little bit and started the company in the summer of 2004. And, for the first 5 years or so, I bartended at night. So I'd work, 9 to 5 or 6 doing detailing. And then I'd go into work at 7 till 2 in the morning bartending for the first 5 years of owning the business. But that allowed me to take my bartending money and live, and take my detailing money and continue to turn it into trucks and stuff. A lot of the people that started at the same time as me, luckily I was 24, so no kids, no marriage. My lifestyle wasn't near as expensive as it was. So I could take all the money I was earning detailing and put it back into the company and just use that. And it took 4 or 5 years before I was able to finally quit the night job and be confident enough that I could pay myself money to live and continue to get the business to where it needed to be. It's kind of like a snowball. Once it starts getting going, you start making all this money and it works out a little better. In the beginning, times are tight. You don't have as many jobs as you thought you were going to. So, it's a little bit rougher for the guy starting out. And I always say, when the people who work for me now, they're like, oh man, you got all these jobs and stuff, but they didn't see those early years of it, just me out on the truck all day. Most of the people that work for me have never actually seen me detail a car because that's not my job anymore.
Right.
But,
right.
I can do it. I spent all those years doing it. So, as the company grew, we expanded out a little more. We started doing, at first RVs and boats, and then we started picking up dealerships. And then by the time we got to auctions and, the bigger fish out there, we were really rolling. I mean, right now, I think we've got around 120 employees, and we'll probably do a little over 5 million this year, which, in a detailing company setting, that's a pretty big car detailing company. A lot of people have trouble getting past just themselves and having employees. When people ask me for help and advice, it's always getting employees and getting them to do. And that's really kind of where people come to me and ask questions about. It's like, how do you get employees? How do you build the management structure? How do you support having that many people without wanting to jump off a bridge every single day?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely want you to run through that. It's so funny that you and I are talking today, because this morning someone had posted on one of the groups, and it's not kind of one of the bigger groups, it's a smaller group, but someone asked, hey, what do you guys think about mobile detailing? This guy's in Oklahoma. and somebody literally posted, those guys are just, all they can do is wash and wax. They are not real detailers. Unless you have a shop, you can't do anything else. And I instantly thought of you, and I'm like, dude, I gotta warn Rob. He needs to close shop because, obviously he has
What have I been doing all these years?
Yeah, he has no idea that he's only supposed to be installing wax and doing bucket washes.
Yeah.
So it's,
that's been always my problem with the detailing world is there's so many like egos and everybody thinks they have the best way, or, people who do work at dealerships are jokes and, they don't really know how to detail. They're just at dealerships. Some of the biggest car detailing companies in the world that I know of only do car dealerships. So, if you want to own a boutique shop and have to close your shop when you go on vacation or when you get sick and have no value to sell anybody else, that's great. You can be a 1 or 2 man shop running your own shop. But, when I leave, I want to be all right.
You want to make sure all those bills are paid and everybody's busy and all that. So talk to me about, so obviously you can easily dispel the myth between having a shop. So you are do you guys actually have a shop now after all these years, or do you
do
all mobile?
Yeah. We have a couple, we have 2 shops. And we use them mostly as, we use them as shops, but we also have 10 mobile units. So we use them as bases of operation too. That's where the mobile units go out from.
Wow, that's just, I'm trying to wrap my mind around having 120 employees and having 10 individual shops. So what does your management structure look like?
Well, at this point, it's pretty pronounced that there is, I've got Adam, who's my number 2. He's CXO, Chief Experience Officer. He basically runs day-to-days. And then underneath him, it's kind of divided up into divisions, or residential or auction or dealership. And then from there, each location has a manager with sub-managers depending on how big the location is, and then techs. So, the pyramid is gotten fairly tall.
Right.
At this point.
And of those 10 trucks, are you running a couple of guys on each truck? I guess it probably depends on the job and where they're going, right?
Yeah. And most too, because that's all that'll fit. But a lot of times they go out by themselves, or, if there's a big group event or something like that, we go out and, we'll put a few in a truck, just depending on what they're doing.
Right.
Big boat, you need a few people. We have support vehicles like pickup trucks and stuff too that can go out for support.
Oh, that's great. That's awesome. I just seeing that is just, it's so crazy that, like I said, that guy said that this morning, because I'm thinking, man, you're such an idiot. Because it's, you want to say that. We talk about the ego and detailing all the time, pretty much every podcast, because I'm an old guy and I get crotchety about it. But, that's a prime example of just like looking at the entire picture of what detailing and auto appearance care, as they're now calling it, can look like, and realizing that it doesn't just fit one particular model. It's a very broad subject.
Yeah. There's so many ways to do it that when somebody thinks that they have the way, there's a market for everybody. If you want to just do car washes, there's a market for that. And if you build that into having like a station, like a real car wash, you want to know where the big bucks are in the car washing industry. It's those guys who own dozens and dozens of tunnel washes.
Yeah.
Those guys, that's where the real money is in the car cleaning industry.
Yeah. Just talk to, I know, I actually had Dylan Von Kleist, Dylan on, I think Dylan out in Colorado, and he's working now. He went from Rupus over to Auto Wash, and they have kind of a unique car wash setup that they're kind of building this franchises on. It's, it's kind of the standalone where you pull in and the machine goes around you and all this stuff, and they're doing kind of franchise in a box. So we had a long discussion about, car wash versus the detailing industry and the, the myths and everything that's going on around that. So it's those guys, dude, you want to know who's driving all the cars that you want to clean? It's the guys that own the car washes. Yeah, for sure. So talk to me.
I've just always found it silly when people talk like that. Like, it just means you don't know.
Yeah. It's just your,
You know,
yeah, you let your ego drive your information, right? Is that yeah, instead of letting information drive the information. What are you, so talk to me when you reached out, you're like, hey, if you ever want to hear more about detailing and auction or dealer and auction detailing, reach out. I can come on and talk about that. So I'm interested in knowing kind of just run through all that. Like there's so much information there, but and obviously that's two sides of the same coin. But yeah, what
yeah.
is it with all this?
Yeah, the auction is just a much bigger thing. When I look at it, I kind of think of, like if I put it in terms of like, let's say baseball, auctions are the big leagues. There's only a handful of people that can handle it. At one of our auctions, let's say we do 300 details a day.
Wow.
Like that's what we're talking about. We're talking about like a factory setup. There's 5 lines. There's 7 people in each line, and the cars just almost continually roll through the building all day, every day. That everybody has a job. One person takes the trash out, 2 people wash it, 2 people do the interior, somebody does the windows. It's assembly line detailing. And when you need 40 people like that, you have to have had your business around. You have to have a management structure in place. You have to be able to have done it. And there's really only a handful of people in the detailing industry that could even manage something like that. So once you get to that level, there's far less competition, but you have to be able to stand on your own and be able to do it. Because convincing them to do an operation like that, like they run like that every single day. So any hiccup in their operation, you not having the staff or something going wrong is a major problem. So they will vet you very, very well before they even give you a chance. But each one of those contracts is worth $2 million up. You get a big Manheim, that alone could be worth $3 or $4 million a year in revenue. So, we're talking about the big leagues. You have to have a very well established detailing company that can really do it at that point. But if you can get into it and you can get the right people, it's a really profitable way to do it. You do it on volume. You see these cars and they're not really what we consider a detail at the auction. Most people would consider like an express clean. We're not trying to get that car ready. Because we track VINs, I've actually seen a car. We did it at the auction. A dealership bought it. It went to one of our dealerships. We re-cleaned it again for the dealership. They sold that car, and the customer called us to do the final clean on it. So I got paid 3 separate times to do that vehicle. So, as it goes through the cycle, if you're there, all of that can come to you. So, that's, to me, that's the big leagues. That's really where it's at. If you can get to talk to an auction or have established your business and you're kind of like, where do I go now? That's kind of where you end up. Right below that, like AAA ball is dealerships. You can get some dealerships that are, worth $1 million a year. We have ones that we've done that are 24-hour operations. They do so many cars, like a big dealer group with one location, where everything just cycles through there all day and night, every day, kind of like a CarMax. When we do stuff for CarMax, they have in-house detailers, but when they get backed up, they call us. We've done it at all hours of the night, just anything that we can to keep them going. When you get to the dealership level, you kind of have the same sort of issues where you have to have enough staff. Luckily, there's a smaller amount of staff. You can normally get by with somewhere between 10 to 2 people, depending on how many dealerships you're working at the same time in that location, because sometimes they have multiple brands, but also just how many cars they're cleaning. And that's one of the important things to know when you're going to talk to them, is how many cars that are they expecting new and used, so you can do staffing correctly.
And so first of all, on the auction thing, so if they're moving that quick, what's your time per vehicle that you're spending on those? And I mean, I should say, if you've never seen a car auction, So these are cars that have to look good, like from 60 feet. Most people, because of the speed, right? People are not getting in these cars.
They're repossessions mostly.
Yeah, they're just. I mean, when people are buying these, they're buying them based on VIN, mileage, very high level condition, that kind of thing.
Yeah, they just need them to. They call them standing tall. They just need to present well. If you go looking for dirt, you will find it. We wash them, we vacuum them, we do light shampoos, we clean all the plastics, the cup holders. We make it presentable. That's what we're after there, presentable. But we're getting $50 to $55 a car, so we're providing what you're paying for.
Yeah,
but you make that up in volume, and that's really same with the world.
So you're talking 7 to 10 minutes per car. How long are you doing each car? Okay.
10 minutes. 10 minutes is about how long from start to finish. If you track the car through the lane, it takes about 10 minutes.
Let me just do some math for those at home. There are 6 10-minute segments in an hour. You're getting $50 times 6. So that's $300 an hour for this service. And it's very basic. So like you guys we like in the detailing industry, you're like, oh, well, you need to be at least $100 an hour, 125, 150. But I mean, you're talking about like quote unquote low level detailing for $300 an hour. Like that's pretty freaking amazing.
Yeah. Times 5, because I have 5 of those lanes running it simultaneously.
So it's $1,500 an hour, really, is what time looks like, right? Holy crap. I mean, obviously you're staffing 40 people and you've got, overhead and all that kind of stuff, but that's a hell of a lot of revenue.
And at this level, they're all paid on commissions. And it sounds crazy. We pay like $3 a car, which you're like, but sometimes they're doing 100 cars a day, in their lane. A good lane can do 100 cars. So I've seen checks where these guys in 2 weeks are clearing $2,600 every 2 weeks. And we're talking about just auction detailers. So as hard as they work, and I can tell you because we do a little bit of everything, I've had to bring in retail detailers to do stuff like that. Like, hey, we need some help. We're backed up. There's a big thing going on. My retail detailers work there one day and they're like, oh, hell no. Like, this is not for me at all. It is hard work in a hot building, but if you put your head down and you work you really do it, you can make a lot of money doing that.
Yeah, 50 or 60 grand.
How much you get done.
Yeah, 50 or 60 grand a year for something that doesn't require, it's hard work, but it's not like it's a huge skill related job to do. And you don't have to have a college degree.
You work. No, some of them don't even speak English, but they don't need to, they the way that they're set up and they start working as teams, just like any team, what Rob's doing, what Kevin's doing, what each person is doing and what their role is. And if everybody does their role, those cars just fly through. They barely stop moving. We don't even turn them off. They move so fast.
Wow. And so obviously Mannheim is in your area, right? Like they have a big auction.
The main one. The Mannheim has auctions. Yeah, everywhere.
So, but you really kind of need to be in a bigger area or bigger city. Obviously they have Oklahoma City has an auction. Dallas has tons of auctions, but it's got to be.
Most of the big cities have one. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and like I said, that's a little harder to break into, but you take it step by step. You get really good at it. Where I started was I got really good at retail detailing. I kind of mastered that and said, okay, well, where do I go from here? I had this skill. What else can I do with it? So then we started talking to the dealerships. Okay, now instead of chasing each car, I can send 2 or 3 people there every day and the cars are already there waiting for me. Yeah, I get a little bit less per car. And that's where I think some detailers get hung up. Oh man, you're only getting $150, $160 to detail. Yeah, fine. But I did 15 of them today.
Yeah.
And I didn't have to pay water. I didn't have to pay rent. I didn't have to pay electricity. There's no overhead to it. The only part that costs me any money is my labor. Mm. So, I send people there. They check. They don't come to our shop. They just go right there. They clock in from their phones when they get there. They put their heads down, they go to work, and they go home from there. So my only cost, the only thing I have to manage there is labor. So yeah, I get a little bit less, but that's made up on the other side because there's no cost to it to me, just my chemicals and my labor.
And so what would make the dealers decide? Because obviously the dealer detailers are they're the pond scum of the industry, which is dumb, but that's how they're kind of seen. Now, what would make a dealer decide to use an outside service like yours, or like somebody trying to break into those, what's that sales pitch look like for them?
Most dealerships at this point outsource their detailing anyways. They don't want to deal with the hassle. No matter what, detailing is the lowest rung at the dealership. We're always the dog that gets kicked. It's always our fault. And that's just something you have to have thick skin by the time you get to that. Everybody looks down on you and you're just, whatever. But if you get in there and you just convince them, hey, I'll take the headaches of people calling out away from you. I'll take hiring and firing and discipline and all that away from you. I'll bill you seamlessly. You don't even have to worry about it. You don't have to pay these people. You don't have to offer them benefits. You just take on all that cost. They would much rather just pay you a little bit more and not deal with the hassle of it. We're in the end, we're mostly dealing with hourly employees, and hourly employees is, there's always something, some excuse why I didn't come to work today, baby mama stuff, just general BS. And if you're equipped to take care of it, one of the things that benefits me about my size is, let's say you don't show up to work today. I can pull someone else and have them there, and the dealership will never even know different.
Right.
But if you're a smaller operation and you go and try to talk to dealerships and somebody doesn't come up and you have nobody to fill in with, they're going to notice. And that's when dealerships really give you a hard time. They don't care how you do it. They just want it done. And that's the sales pitch. Like, hey, I will do all of this for this price. You just pay me this per car and I will be invisible to you. And that's what they want. They don't want to hear anything. They don't want to deal with drama.
And are you just doing it in one of their service bays or are you doing it out in the parking lots? Because you're talking about cars that are coming off the semi directly from auction, or are you talking about PDI type stuff with new deliveries too, or
both? Most dealerships have detailing bays. It's pretty rare. We offer our retail trucks as like supplement. So let's say you get 2 big truckloads in. Now you've got 40 cars coming off and you need them ready. Well, we bring in the mobile units to help knock those out for you, to supplement the people that are already stationed there. And that's a selling point for us too, that we won't get behind. And if we do get behind, you just tell us and we'll come and clear it out for you. But most of them have their own locations, like as in how to do it. Some have whole buildings. In some places, I have an entire building to myself that's just detail.
Nice.
5 or 6 days.
And so you just have a staff that goes to Davis Chevrolet every single day, and that's what they do, and that's their
every single day. That's their job. Yep. They'll be a manager, an assistant manager, and that's where they report.
So it's really like a satellite. I mean, basically, you've got a satellite,
like a shop, like a satellite shop.
Satellite shop. That's awesome. So when you're staffing, I mean, go ahead.
You can do new cars, used cars, and service details. So we also get regular details there. And a lot of these dealerships, you can sell them on like ceramic coatings and stuff like that. Yeah, you give them a cut, but they go and sell that for like 2 and 3, numbers that we would never get because they just talk about rolling it into your car payment. Oh, just $5 extra a month for over the next 9 years. You can have this and people don't care, but it's worth it to us because we can still charge $700 or $800 and it's no skin off their back. And we have a constant, steady flow of customers. And one of the things that costs money is advertising, is marketing to new customers. You don't have to do that.
Yeah.
They just bring you the customers.
So you're making good friends with the F&I guys. You're making good friends with the sales manager. So like the F&I guy, that's really, you want to be taking him to lunch once a week because he's the one that's pushing that, $3,000 upgrade of the 1 year
Yeah.
ceramic coating that he sells as a lifetime coating. But
Yeah, some of the places they offer like contests and stuff, and we provide you like we'll give gift cards, whatever you want, sell it.
that's awesome. So, and then what you're saying is like that. Then from the dealership, clearly, if no one's making this connection, when you've got a sales guy or an F&I guy or a sales manager that's dealing with incoming cars from auction houses, they then have the connection to the auction houses, so that then that gives you a way to get in on that. Obviously, you've got to have
that's how
you got to have it established. Yeah.
And one of the good things about car dealerships and anybody who's ever worked with them or near them is those guys move around all the time, almost constantly. New managers come, they change locations. It's burned me before because when a person's come in, they've brought the detailing company they like. Maybe the person's giving him a kickback. Maybe it's a friend of a friend, whatever. But it's also allowed us to spread out. So if the used car manager loves us and he moves from Davis Chevrolet to Schruefer Ford, hey guys, I hate this detailing company. Do you want to come do this also? And we'll go and take that over too.
Yeah, it's a pretty I mean, first of all, it's a pretty transient, from the sales guy standpoint, but the sales managers are pretty incestuous. In other words, like they move from dealership to dealership, sometimes in the same group, sometimes outside of the group. I mean, they're chasing the money, just like all of us are, kind of a thing. So yeah. So on the detailing, so they're actually bringing you real business too, like, or are you just getting referrals then? So are you guys leaving? Do the customers that buy the car know who worked on the car, or that's just a blind thing, or will the sales guy?
Well, yeah, we
stick, you want a bigger thing.
A little sticker.
Okay.
We stick a little sticker up in the. It's kind of like one of those like clear, transparent ones. Nobody's ever said anything to us. So.
I mean, I was wondering because that's a perfect way to do it. You can't like drop a card in the middle of the cup holder because that gets thrown.
No, not like we do in the retail setting, but we slip them in there. We have plastic covers, like sometimes the do not remove dealer stuff.
Yeah.
We have ones with our logo on it that we put down. So when you get the car delivered to you, like a used car, we'll have those plastic covers with our logo on them. So it's more like subliminal marketing.
Yeah, subliminal. We like that. It's guerrilla marketing, subtle marketing. We like that for sure. So you usually do it. So you'll take the cars and unwrap them and like do all of that kind of stuff. And then, I mean, I'm just trying to run through this in my head. So when we bought this 2021 new Grand Cherokee, and I basically threatened the sales guy's life that if he let anyone else touch this car, I was going to make him send it back and give me another one. So like it was fully wrapped. Like when he called me, the thing still had the plastic on it. So because just being me, I wanted to make sure that I got it, that I knew what was going on. So are those guys like reporting damage? Like, is that something you guys have to do when you're going through that?
Yeah, we'll grab something because they'll blame us for it. So, if we see something blatant, you pull that off and there's a big scratch underneath of it. We go get somebody for stuff like that. Sometimes they're there when we're doing it because they're doing their stuff while we're removing wrappings too. Okay. Because that's just like immediately off the truck type of stuff. As soon as it comes off, we're pulling off all that plastic. That doesn't take very long. And then it's kind of, if it needs to be washed, we'll wash it. We don't really do the final prep stuff until it's sold.
Oh, okay. So then they'll bring it back to you guys. So that's kind of, it's actually kind of 2-stage then, right? You do the initial wipe down for the lot. And then are you doing, cause I know they wash them all the time. Are you guys then doing lot washes where you're just walking through the lot and washing?
Sometimes I prefer if they have a car wash personally, because then I don't have to do service washes, because service washes are the biggest pain in the ass in the detailing world. Like if you guys are out there looking and thinking about doing detailing at a dealership, ask them about service washes because they're only going to pay you like $2 to $5 a car to wash cars, and a busy shop could turn out 50 or 60 a day. And I've gotten caught with my paints down before, being like, yeah, no problem, we'll do that. And the only thing I can do all day long is service washes. I can't get any of the other stuff done because we don't have the capacity space-wise or staff-wise to do anything but their 60 service washes. So I really prefer when I'm going to talk to the dealership, I kind of scope out to see if they have a car wash. Because if they have a car wash, they'll do it themselves.
Yeah, because you don't want to do $120 a day versus $120 a car. Like that makes no sense.
Exactly.
No sense whatsoever. That's, I mean, dealer stuff.
It really ties you up.
And who's doing, like, do you third party, leather repair or fabric repair or any of that kind of stuff?
Yeah. I went to some classes to learn how to do bumpers and leather and dents and that kind of stuff. And for a while I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just offer everything. Windshields. The more I just realized that, I should just like when I think about restaurants, yeah, I could be the Cheesecake Factory and I could offer 600 services and be mediocre at all of them, or I could just focus on the one thing that I'm good at and then bring in other people that are good at dents or bumper repairs or leather repairs and just throw them to work. I don't even really try to make money on that. I just try to do it, one, to help the customer, and two, when you have this many employees, we break shit sometimes. We damage cars. Things happen. So, I want these guys around also so that, when one of my guys has a pen in his pocket and sits on a leather seat and punctures a hole in it, he'll come out and he'll just repair that for me, cheap, cost, whatever it takes to just knock it out and get it done.
Right.
So I like having as many contractors around.
So does that sit under your same umbrella, or are they billing the dealers separately?
No. Well, that's mostly for retail, in the retail world. Okay. In the dealership world, they have their own people. I don't even try to get involved in that.
Okay. Yeah, that's good, because probably keep that separate, because it's just way less complicated and less responsibility and liability for you.
Yeah. They already have enough to say all the time.
Yeah.
In the dealership and auction world, they don't ever, there's no positive affirmations for you. They're not ever, you don't get an attaboy or doing a great job. Silence. If you have silence, that means you're doing a good job, because they don't hesitate to complain at you. So, I'm always after nothing. If I hear nothing, I know we're doing a good job.
That's funny. That might be the title of this episode. Strive for nothing. That's what we're going. Yeah. That's what we're going for sure. So you're just doing basic. So I'm just trying to wrap my head around so people can understand what dealer detailing actually looks like. So walk me through like a typical car real quick on what that might entail, how long it takes for
so
two guys, one guy's, whatever.
It kind of gets divided up into three different categories. New cars, which is fairly easy. These cars are brand new. You take the wrapping off, you get them ready for the front line. When they're sold, you take the stickers out. You make it look nice. You make it look as new as you can possibly get. You don't want any dirt on that car at all. When somebody's dropping $60,000, $70,000 on a new car, or even $20,000 or $30,000, they want it to be new. People have test driven these cars. People have been in them. Managers have taken them home. You want them to feel like this car is as new as you can get. So those are fairly easy. When it comes to used cars, you get two types of cars. You get auction cars, which have been cleaned already mostly by somebody like me. So they're let's call it 70% of the way there. You need to go do some finer stuff and make sure that they're more presentable. But they're not too bad. And then you get the trades, which are as bad as you can imagine. Like people don't even take their stuff out of these cars sometimes. Like, the condition that people come and trade cars in, I'm just like, wow.
Yeah. So if
you should have taken a push-pull
if you see a push-pull drag,
it's really
come on, you don't want that, right? So.
Yeah. So, so you get, those are the worst types. And when it comes to dealership work, you mostly get what you get. You don't change the price based on whether or not it's an auction car or a trade-in. You get the good with the bad. Sometimes it takes you 45 minutes to detail the car. Sometimes it takes you 4 hours. You just have to average, okay, what is it actually, what's my average time working these vehicles and multiply that to get your labor rates and stuff like that. Because that's really what it comes down to. Dealerships still want to pay what they paid 20 years ago. A dealership will only give you $75 if you let them.
Yeah.
But you have to be able to say no to these guys, and you have to stand your ground. They will bully you all day long in the dealership world if you don't stand your ground and don't draw lines and clearly lay out what you're doing for the price, what's included and what's not included. I'm not including wet sanding and compounding this car as part of your $160 detail, but they will be like, it's just this one, this customer's picky. Can you take care of that? And that happens once a day, or you'll get the salesman whose car is always the most important car, and he wants you to bump everything else that you've been doing to get his car done. I mean, we've worked at multiple groups. Like, let's say we have a Nissan and a Cadillac and they share a property. I've had Cadillac people come over and take Nissan keys so that the Cadillacs get done first. Some dealerships in the politics of it are absolutely bonkers. You'd be like, aren't you guys on the same team here? Like, you work for the same company.
It's cutthroat, man. I know. Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy. You have to play the game a little bit at dealerships.
Yeah. And is that, so that's your managers and associates, that's your managers and assistant managers and that guys, those are the guys on site, right? That are doing that.
Yeah. The day-to-day problems. And then, if they escalate a problem, we come in and, I'm more like a no man. I come in and I'm like, nope, we're not doing that. Nope, we're not doing that. That's not what we agreed upon, because they'll try to push around detailers and day-to-day managers. Part of my day-to-day job is putting out fires. That's mostly what I do all day long. Talk on the phone and come in and, solve higher level problems like that. Like, they want us to buff every car now or do the headlights. Like, here's our contract. That's not in our contract. If you want us to do it, I will certainly do it for you, but it's not included.
Here's what it's going to cost. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so are you doing I'm used to the construction world, right? So like you've got a foreman that has 15 jobs going and he's literally just driving around all the time. Do you have a person that does that for you, or I assume that's not with this big of a company?
Not at this point anymore. It was for a long time, but yes. So the dealership group manager goes around and stops in, and dealerships like to show face once in a while, like they like to see you. If they see you, we make it a point to walk out front and walk through the dealership to get to the detail shop when there's no real purpose to doing that. I could easily just drive around back. But, then they don't come out back. So we need them to see that somebody's there every single day making this stuff happen. And, and then for the retail, there's like a QC manager who randomly stops in on our mobile trucks when they're out on the road. They never know when he's coming. He just shows up to make sure that quality's good. And the customers like it. We just knock on the door and say, hey, I'm Rob. I'm the manager. I'm just here to make sure everything's going well. Do you need anything? Has everything been up to your standard? Do you have any concerns? A lot of times in the automotive world, mechanics as well, we don't have the best reputation for providing customer service. People kind of tend to expect a surly, smart ass kind of response when you ask for things. Well, my background is restaurants and bartending. So when I came into this, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to provide that. I made all my money on tips. If you're a jerk to everybody, you're not going to make any money. So, it doesn't cost me anything to show back up and to clean a smeary window or wipe down a door jamb without any, argument or hassle. Oh man, I'm so sorry we missed that. I'll send somebody will be out there in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Boom. Not only does that customer, you're turning what could potentially be a bad review, they are happy that you solved the problem. And I'm not going to say nobody, but realistic people don't expect everything to go perfect every single time. mostly, and it's how I judge companies. I'm sure it's how you judge companies. How do they handle it when something goes wrong? When I'm looking to use a company, I actually go to their negative reviews first and see, what did the company do when something went wrong? Did they jump on and start bashing this person in the negative review, or, ignore the person? If you don't do that, you will get so much farther. Even if they don't use you again, they may just leave it at that. Yeah. They'll tell one person about a good experience and 50 people about a bad experience. So, you want to make sure that they are at least satisfied. They may not recommend you, but that's okay. We screwed it up. That's okay. Don't recommend me, but don't go out and trash me to everybody that you can find. And that's kind of how I've built the business, is just staying on top of stuff like that. Immediately returning calls about complaints. I mean, we do literally 1,000 cars a week. If I thought for 1 second I wasn't going to get complaints about that stuff, I'd be insane.
Yeah.
So, we can't do it perfect every time at that scale.
Well, and by taking that, because it was funny that you said that, because I'm thinking that, hey, he's kind of using this restaurant manager model for his mobile guys. Because in a restaurant, the good ones, the manager, literally part of his job is to walk around and talk to every table at least once or twice during the meal. Usually once, because I'm kind of annoying, but
Annoying. Yeah.
And most people would not, most people won't speak up. So if the steak is overcooked or something of that nature, but when you're asked specifically, most people don't lie. A lot of people will just say, oh, it's fine. They don't want to have conflict. But by having you go around and having someone say, is there anything that we missed? Is there anything else that we could improve? Whatever, that gives them an opportunity to have a voice that they may not ordinarily have.
We do that in retail world. Yeah, all the time. We do follow-up phone calls and follow-up emails after your appointment. We just check in and just say, how were we? You might not be comfortable saying that to the tech or the waiter at the time, but let's say there was one little thing that bothered you enough that you wouldn't actively complain about it, but you weren't happy about it. But if I say, Kevin, was everything okay? You say, yeah, I was 95% of the way there, but for whatever reason, they forgot my third row passenger window. Yeah. You're not going to call me and complain about that. But if I ask you about it, you'll bring it up. And if I jump on it and send someone over there that day for something that literally is going to take me a minute to do, and you're like, wow, I wasn't even expecting them to do anything, and now somebody's shown up and fixed that problem for me, that goes a long way.
Yeah, 100%. Gives people, that's because, like you said, and I think a lot of people miss that your ability to help someone solve a problem, and sometimes you can't even solve the problem. I'm dealing with a guy on one of my retail products we sell this bed liner product, and he bedlined his entire truck. Okay, so it's that's full committal if you're going to sand and bedline your truck. Well, he lives on Maui, and on Maui they have this very ferrous iron oxide type soil, and so he's having issues with it staining. And that's not my that's not my fault. I can't control. I can't control.
What do you want me to do?
Yeah, but in my case, because I really want this guy to be happy about it, it's probably going to cost me $200 or $300 to solve his problem by either getting him some single stage paint to paint it so it's better protected, whatever I do. But he has gone out of his way to be complimentary, that I don't even know how we're going to solve this problem, but I appreciate that you're taking the time to help me solve this problem and at least communicating with me in that way.
Yeah. Customer service goes a long way. It is the difference between making it and not making it, especially when you're starting out. Like I said before, a lot of times when people call with a complaint, they expect pushback and, an adversarial, people call and are already combative. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, whoa, what do you want? What can I do to make this happy? And then you do that, and they're like, Okay. Like, you give them nothing to be upset about, and they just back down, but they call like ready for an argument. And if you don't give them any reason to have one, you catch them off guard a little bit.
Yeah, that's the way you disarm them and make sure that they're happy and make sure. I mean, again, it's this world of negative reviews that can be, because it's that like 2 to 3 star review that you don't like, because the 1-star reviews kind of get dismissed because, it's like, all right, so something bad happened or this guy's just crazy or whatever. But those 2 and 3 star reviews, yeah, the 2 and 3 star reviews are like, wait a minute, there's something that just didn't quite go right that would keep me from working with these guys. So those are the ones you want to make those guys.
And I actually don't mind those all the time too, because it gives us a chance, like I said, when I look, it gives us a chance to address that problem. Like in our response to the review, or even sometimes they'll edit, with a follow-up like, hey, after I posted this, they came and did this. Sometimes they'll change the review. Sometimes they just put the thing. But as a customer, when I'm going through and see, oh, okay, they addressed it. They attempted to resolve the problem. Okay, they at least tried.
Yeah.
And not just,
You can put on your response that, hey, I'm sorry for that experience. I'm glad we could come out that day and correct this problem. At least you can be able to say that, so when people read that, versus like,
yeah, exactly.
Versus the crappy response that so many businesses do, where they like go at it with the customers. So yeah, that's
when companies actively argue with customers in the review, it makes my like skin crawl. I'm like, you are publicly making yourself look like an idiot. Whether you're in the right or the wrong, that customer can be a complete nut job, but you look just as bad now by doing that. It's just better to just, like, if the review is completely off the rails, I don't even respond to it, because you as a customer can read that and be like, because I've read reviews before and been like, that person's a nut. That's the kind of customer you don't want anyways. So, it's easier just to let it go.
100%. One of the myths, I think, with mobile detailing, because that's obviously that's a huge part of what you do, and way you've started out. One of those big myths is like, you can't make any money. You're kind of low end detailing. You can't do coatings and PPF and tent and all of these things that, like I was talking about with that post earlier today. How do you bridge that gap as kind of a newer mobile detailer? Because obviously, and I pointed this out to answer the guy's question, I'm like, if you're just kind of starting, taking on the overhead of $4,000 to $5,000 in rent every month just to have a shop may not be the best approach, if you're just kind of early in this process. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, I started my business with $2,000 cash off of a credit card. So like, mobile detailing is fairly easy to get into. If you can get the van, you don't have any of the overhead, and you can use that at your house and save yourself a lot of money, because rent and all that kind of stuff can be really expensive. So, it is a good way to get that going. Our average ticket price runs about $275 a car. So, that's can rival what goes on in shops. I'll give them that we don't do tint and we don't do PPF on the road. There's just too much elemental factors. Even coatings, a lot of times we bring them into the shop. There's just too much going on out on the road. But I can do a full detail all day long on the road at $300 plus a car, and how we've kind of modeled our services is we have, I'll call it more of like an a la carte. We have a $100 base service, and then we get there and we talk to the customer about what they need. Oh, you've got kids in the car. Okay, I think you should shampoo it and maybe protect the leather with this. Or you've got dogs riding in the car. Well, we need to get all that dog hair out of there. Or, oh, you park it outside. Might I suggest you doing this longer term synthetic sealant instead of just a regular wax? So we use that as an opportunity to to build the services around what the customer actually wants and don't sell them things they don't want. So that allows us, it comes off as more genuine, like, okay, what do you, during a conversation, I'll come to Kevin's house and Kevin will be like, well, here's what I do. We take it off-roading. We do this, we do that. We drive through bushes. It's got scratches on it, but I don't really care about the inside. It's fine. I'm saying, okay, well, let's focus on the outside. Here's what we can do on the inside. Let's just vacuum it out. We'll wipe it down for you. You don't care about the inside? Great. That's not your concern. We'll concentrate on the outside. And you make packages around their needs. And that's been really successful for us. And it actually gets us more money in the end because people don't feel like they're being sold to. We're just having a conversation and saying, okay, here's what you need. Here's what I would recommend. This is how you prevent that in the future type of conversations. And it really allows things to just add up quickly to more than if I just tried to sell them a full detail. And here's our full detail. Here's what's included. Right. It's not always what they want.
Yeah. That's been a constant theme on every guest that I've had that runs a successful detailing business is like having this relationship, walking through and understanding exactly what the customer wants, what they do, how they use their car, what they do for a living, all of those relationship building things. I mean, it's hugely important to be able to do that for sure.
Yeah, everybody uses their car differently.
Yeah, because not everybody needs a 9-10 year coating on their car, and not everybody needs, all of that stuff, or not everybody needs PPF. Not every, it's definitely a unique experience for each person. Now, if you've got 10 trucks and 20 guys, 25 guys and girls doing this job, are you teaching them how to sell and upsell? How does that process work for somebody that's got, because this may work like it's me at the shop and then I have one truck. Like it's the same process as if I have 10 trucks.
Yeah, we try. Some are better at it than others, but really what it comes down to when I'm looking to hire people is who just has like a natural way about them. I will teach anybody to detail a car, give me enough time. I can teach you how to properly clean a car. I cannot teach you how to talk to customers and how to be relatable and, have charisma and be a nice person. Those aren't teachable skills, but I can teach you how to clean a car. You give me 2 weeks, I can make you a decent car detailer.
Yeah. Yeah. So having that basic personality and being able to, like you said, interact with people. And I'm guessing that with each truck, you pair them up and you have one person that's probably better at that than others. And they're kind of the lead.
There's a lead and then somebody who's the worker.
Yeah.
More or less.
Sure. What advice would you give to someone that's wanting to grow? My guess is that for most people, you wouldn't recommend having 120 employees running doing the job. Obviously it's great to have it. It's great for success, but it takes a specific type of person to be able to run that kind of business.
You have to build it naturally. Like you're building, a pyramid out of bricks, each time you just keep adding layers and layers and building up from the side. So you have to have that wide base to support the top, because the really good people want really good salaries. So you're going to have to be able to justify the cost of that. Like anything else in the world, you get what you pay for. We try to have our mobile detailers at $20+ an hour, so we have to, you get what you pay for. So if you pay somebody $15 an hour, you're going to get a $15 an hour employee. You're going to get a McDonald's level employee. So, you need to, as you're building, be able to have that support on that base layer, which is your detailers. They do all the work day to day. Everybody up from them manages those people, but they, that base level has to be good. And one of the things that I talk about that I can't stress enough is not everybody who can clean cars should be a manager. Everybody wants to be a manager, but they absolutely should not. I've actually lost some of my best detailers by promoting them into roles because they were good at one thing, being like, okay, you've earned a management spot here. And in the end, they weren't managers at all. It's a different level of person to hire to get a manager. We try to promote internally, but it's difficult to turn a detailer into a manager. Very few people have been able to get through that process. Even when I'm hiring like operations managers for big dealership groups or auctions, I don't even look in the detailing world. I want somebody who's managed 40 or 50 people, and I will teach them detailing at the level that they need to know. They don't need to get in those cars, but they need to know enough about it to be able to, to keep it going. I need you to be able to manage people. I don't care whether or not you know anything about cars. I'll teach you that. But if you can't manage people, you're of no value to me at that level.
Yeah, because that's a people and process problem. That's not a, do I know how to, do I even know how to clean a window properly? It's not, if I can spot a window that's not cleaned properly and then tell that guy in a way that gets him to fix it, I'm good.
Yeah.
But I don't have to be able to fix it necessarily as a manager.
Yeah, exactly. Can you identify the problem and then just have the people who are trained to do it fix it?
Right, 100%. Did you, and I've kept you for a long time, but at what point did you start to hire people to take you from your first truck to then, hiring people to run that truck while you did something else?
So what I did was so if you just want the path of it, I would be on a truck and then I hired somebody and got them trained to the point that I thought they were okay on the truck. And then I would get them a helper. And basically what I did all day long was I just followed them around in my pickup truck. They would get to the customer. I would go, I would talk to the customer, introduce us, get everything going, and then basically go back to my truck, answer the phones, do all my work basically from my office in the truck while they detailed the car. When they were done, I would go up and talk to the customer again, collect the money, and then we would all collectively go to the next job. Then once my basis was when that van was booked about a week and a half out or so, I'd add another truck. So I would take that helper and give him his truck and then get 2 new helpers. And then now I'm just driving back and forth between the jobs. I was still doing the same thing, showing up when they showed up and checking out with the customer at the end. And every time I'd get to 2.5 weeks, I'd add another, a week and a half, 2 weeks, I'd add another truck. Boom, boom, boom. Each one of those trucks is worth $100,000 to $150,000 fully running. So every time I would go through, I would just keep adding and adding and adding. Every time I got booked out a week and a half, I would immediately add another truck and then allow them to fill up naturally, add another truck.
Wow.
And I just keep doing it like that to the point now that I've kind of saturated my area that I can't, I'm now looking to expand out a little bit because I can't add any more here.
Yeah. And are you guys are the go-to? I assume you built enough reputation now in the retail side that you kind of control market share.
We try to be. Yeah, we try to be. I mean, fair or unfair, I spend more in marketing than most detailing companies make in a year. So, it's not really, I can just drown you in advertising budget.
Right.
So I just try to be the one that gets seen. I'm not going to get everybody, and I don't try to get everybody. Like in Facebook marketplace groups and stuff like that. Like I don't chase those people. I don't even actively go after that. Like the little guys, they kind of, who needs a recommendation for car detailing, and you get 20 on there, and sometimes people will put us or tag me, but like I don't actively chase that.
Yeah.
It's just, it's a lot of work for one customer.
Yeah. The customer acquisition cost doesn't make any sense for sure.
No.
Well, before I let you go, I want to ask you about like, if I'm a detailer that's maybe, not just an owner operator, but I maybe have a couple of guys, one truck, couple of girls, be gender specific, but, how would I,
we have a lot of people.
Yeah, I'm sure we do tons of female stuff in the automotive world, and they're usually harder workers and better equipped than most of the guys that we've met for sure.
I would say we are 50-50 in our auction locations, female to male.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
But how do you bridge that conversation? Like, how do you make that first contact at a dealership? Because that's what we're talking about, right? Like, we're dispelling the myth that dealership detailing is not good. We know that it is. We know that it's profitable. We know you can make a lot of money at it. We know it's successful. So who am I talking to first? Am I trying to get, a friend of a friend to introduce me to the F&I guy, the sales manager? How does that work?
Yeah, that can be, that's a tough one because different people at different dealerships make the call. Sometimes it's the used car manager who pulls all the weight. Sometimes it's the service manager. Sometimes it's the new car manager. Sometimes it's the GM. So, you have to find out the person who actually gets to make that decision. When you're doing it long enough, it's easier because these people, you've met them, you've seen them around, they know who you are. It's not as much of a shock to walk in. When you're walking in cold, sometimes it's just a numbers game. You just keep checking back. I won't call it annoying, but persistent maybe is the way. And you just need to catch them on that day where they've just absolutely had it with their detailing company. Something went wrong. They got a bad, report. Their survey got trashed or something like that. You just have to catch them on the day that they're going to entertain the conversation, and they might not make that move right then, but you've given them the card. They know who you are. You check in once in a while and just keep that up once you've figured out who the decision maker is, because like anything else, they'll pawn you off a little bit and be like, oh, well, you need to talk to the used car manager, Kevin. I don't have any say in that. And then you go to talk to Kevin. Kevin's like, oh, you need to go talk to Rob. Like they'll run you in circles till you can get to the decision maker. But once you have that person, you just try to stay in front of them the best you can.
Yeah. And a lot of times you will find if you can figure out who the gatekeepers are, and this goes for any business, if you can figure out who the gatekeepers are, it may be a woman in finance, right? Or a woman who's doing the bookkeeping or whatever. And you can kind of, if you can start up a conversation with some of those kind of people and figure out who the gatekeepers are, then she or he, usually it's a she in a lot of these dealerships, she will introduce you to or she will tell you who to talk to. So if you can figure out who the gatekeepers are, that's one step closer to getting to where you need it to be. And then, like you said, it's just persistence.
You can meet a lot of them during networking events too. A lot of those people, especially like car salespeople, they go to networking stuff. So if you can meet those people and then they get you in, because a lot of times we'll do the salespeople's cars, outside of the dealership world, and they'll be, during that conversation, they're like, oh, I work at a car dealership. Oh yeah, what car dealership, type of thing, and be like, oh, we do that too. We have specific packets that we made up that are just our marketing towards dealerships. What's included, what our prices are, how we break things down, everything. We can literally just hand them almost like, just a small folder with everything that's fully branded, everything that has all of our stuff in it, and just say, here you go, and that'll stay around until the day that they're just had enough.
Yeah, because you got the salesperson or sales manager or whoever they happen to be. Then once that gets in the head, like you said, you're kind of waiting for that opportunity. You kind of make the opportunity by being persistent and having proper marketing materials. Having that sales packet is a huge advantage, because they, obviously we're at Detailers Roadmap. We build awesome websites, but if you sometimes need something hard copy to then be able to drive them to learn more information.
Yeah, people like to just have something.
Yeah.
Even my team has learned they print things out and actually physically bring them to me, because they'll know that I will take a little bit more time and read it if they printed it out and handed it to me. It might be a little more old school, but when you're reading something on a computer or an email, you start to skim a little bit. If they want me to, I'll come into the office and they'll be like packets on my desk, and they're like, here, can you, really check this out for me?
Yeah, and you have to understand that world, because in the dealer world, you're sitting literally at a salesperson's desk, and they will have a brochure for this vehicle that probably costs, $25 to do each one.
Just to print.
Just to print. Yeah, and they'll print them, and then you're looking through them and printing them and all that. So they live in a world of paper already. So that's not necessarily a bad thing to have. And then if you have an awesome website, obviously you can send them to the website to get more information, and they'll verify your professionalism. You can show pictures and all of that too.
Yeah.
They
ask other people. So if you do detailing at dealerships, you only need one or two that you have a really good relationship with, and you just say, hey, go ask Kevin at Kevin's Ford dealership. He'll tell you how good we are, and they will damn sure call Kevin at Kevin's Ford dealership.
Yeah, builds that, and it's a great feeder for retail. I mean, I think it's highly underrated in the industry doing dealer stuff, and obviously auction is a whole nother level. But yeah,
that's harder to get into, but I like people to know that it exists. If you want to make millions of dollars at car detailing, you need to be in the dealership or auction world. You can only make so much. You only have so much bandwidth and capacity in the retail world to do so much. If you want to get into, 7 figures, 8 figures, you need to be doing it at a different level. You need to just as much as you can, because there's no real difference. It's just the volume that you're doing it at, and that you're offering the correct service at the correct price.
Right. Yeah, you're not going to get a lot of this, detailer ego around doing auction detailing, right? Like you're just here to clean it as well as possible in the shortest amount of time, so you maximize the profit for that car.
Yeah, some people kind of laugh. They're like, "Oh, those aren't details." Like, all right, well, when you see the check I get, we'll have a different discussion.
Yeah, let me call you when I get on my 3-week vacation that I'm about to take in the Caribbean, and then we can have that discussion, right? That would be what I'm. So, but hey, man, I appreciate you doing that. If people want to kind of learn more about what you do and get in touch with you, if you want, how would they go about doing that?
You can find me on social media, Rob Schruefer. I'm on Facebook. You can contact me through the company. I do a lot with the IDA. I've been on the board, president a couple times. I'm still pretty active with, a lot of ad hoc kind of stuff. But, that's a good place to see me. I try to go to the shows and be active around in some of the committees so that you can come and talk. And I don't mind helping the detailing industry. It's one of the things that I've really kind of enjoyed spending my time doing. So, if you have legitimate questions, or how do I break into this, or here's the problem I'm having, have you ever experienced this? Can you help me with it? Rob@onspotdetailing.com, send me an email, and I will always get back to you about it.
That's awesome. Well, I appreciate your time, man. I appreciate this information, and it's just one step closer to broadening minds in the industry for sure, and getting people on different paths.
I always say, don't think that your way is the only way, because it's not.
Yeah, 100%. All right, buddy. Well, I appreciate you.
All right, thank you.
Get your one-stop success solution at detailersroadmap.com today.